welcome back to the rest of the story. I'm your host, as pretty well all of you know, and I got Rocket and Calvin riding with me. Largely because I think I'm the only one that'll take them for a ride, or both of them at least. And the problem is, I'm gonna be completely weak when it comes to keeping my kids out of the tractor, but these guys give you the old sad pouty face, and it's like, alright, let's go. And Rocket will climb in on his own. Calvin used to, but he's got a hurt foot. I don't know what he did, but now he refuses to jump up in and out of the tractors, which is kind of annoying going backwards, because usually once you get them trained, they can jump in, and it's kind of hard to keep them out of everything. But we are in the process of seed bed prep. We're getting ready for seeding down our grass waterways and our seeding for this year. Now, we have significantly more seeding to do this year than what we have in recent memory. I want to say we're probably going to be up in that 30-40 acre area. Not just like Dad, it's going to be my brother, and I do have a bunch myself. Granted, a lot that I'm doing is largely just waterways, but I do have one of my fields that I'm putting in probably a 30-foot strip around, not the whole field, but part of it, largely because the trees are hanging over from the neighbor's place, and the corn didn't really perform that well there anyway. So that'll open up the waterways that I had in last year anyway that I couldn't get to because of the fact that it was locked in. I didn't leave any roads to get back around to them. But because I do have an outlet for the hay, I did always, but I have between the cattle, and if I have to, I can take it up and take it to the auction and sell it. But it's just another, to me, it's just another crop I can sell or manage. So I'm not really, I mean, I'm a capable equipment operator, but I don't typically do this job that much. Easy enough to say in the 3,000 hours that are on this tractor, well, the hours that we put on it, we put 1,700 hours on it since we've gotten it, and it's safe to say Ryan's put on the majority of them. I mean, using it for hauling manure last fall, there was 3 days there where it was ran pretty steady. Otherwise, I don't typically get to run this tractor because usually I'm either running the 46 chiseling or planting, and that is largely what this tractor is used for, is seed bed preparation. And it's easier just to send Ryan out, go do this. That way he can get ahead of us. And you guys, imagine the most of you know that how farmers work is my brother, that Ryan, and it's easier for him to come back and get video or take the drone up if he's running this. So he does want to run the planter more this year, specifically on his own ground, which I don't think anybody can hold that against him. So it's getting later, even though it's not really that late. The big thing that's bothering me is the fact that the last time I checked the weather, which was late last night, yesterday morning, they were calling for a week of rain starting sometime next week, which it is the 15th. I want to say it's the 15th of April right now, and the imaginary number in my head I was aiming for to start putting seed in the ground, particularly corn and beans, was April 20th. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. But it's not the end of the world that we can't start by then. It was just, you know, an imaginary moving number that I just had stuck in my head, that's when I would have liked to start doing something, because last year we finished the 28th of May and I do not want to do that again, largely because the hybrids that we're planting, they perform better the earlier you get them in because they are longer longer maturity corn. A lot of the stuff was 108 to 112, and it bit me in the butt last year because, well, people might try to argue this, but I already had the planter loaded up with the last of my corn, and it was 108 day. And the problem is we got rained out. I actually do believe a lot of this is on some of last year's footage. At least I think Ryan caught some of it. And the problem is that I had the planter fully loaded. We got rained out for another week, so that put us that much farther behind. And because we get bagged corn, I can't return it once you open that bag of corn up. So I was stuck with it. I wasn't about to pull it out and just hold on to it till next year and then go and rebuy the other, what was it? It was about 10 bags of corn. So I rolled the dice and I lost. So this year, I do have some of that corn left over. I did keep it from last year. To finish up last year, I still had probably about 6 bags worth of corn in the planter, and I went ahead and saved it, kept it. So I'm going to be reusing that this year. Did a germ test on it, see that it's still going to grow, and it is showing that it will. So that's saving money ahead, because I can start putting that down mid-season somewhere, and some of mine already got it in my head of where I want to go with it. And hopefully that'll translate into less corn that I have to open up and buy this year. So I'll be a little bit of money ahead there. And then once again, if we have pretty much anything left in the planter, that's a good practice to keep, I think, is just, yep, we're gonna save it and we'll put it in somewhere next year. I mean, if it grows, it grows. That's not much point in just dumping it out and throwing it out for the birds. So, let me address that drill real quick. For those of you that saw that video the other night, wondering what that big blurred out area was in my video, that was that drill, because I filmed that and uploaded that before Ryan had actually posted his video about the drill. I didn't know when he was going to release it, so it was just better on my part not to show it, because that coon deal is 1000% how Farms Works business. So getting into that topic, why, when will I post a video on the drill? The most you're going to get from me on that drill is if I'm running it and I'm talking to you guys like this and I'm seeding. Other than that, that's all I'm going to really have on the drill. I'm not really going to be doing any action shots with it or anything else like that. I haven't been doing much for action shots or voiceovers, not because I don't want to. It's like right now would be a perfect chance to actually get some videos with my magnet mount. It's that I didn't bring it because I'm not supposed to be here. The plan is I'm only supposed to be here for a little while, and then Dad's gonna come out, run this, and I'm gonna go and help get that drill going and start putting seed in the ground. But this ground has been chiseled, plus some of the ground, the waterways at the home farm that Dad had opened up yesterday with that 630 disc of mine. Yes, we did have that hooked up. It was running. The ground was wet. We quit. And by late yesterday afternoon, and especially this morning, everything that has been opened up, worked, and allowed to have the wind and the sun get to it, it has dried out. So we went ahead and we're planning on trying to put something down this afternoon. Trying being the key word in that statement. And hopefully getting our grass seeding in the ground so we can switch gears and focus on corn and beans. I mean, it is... Okay, going clear back to when we used to seed milking cows, usually it was the first, second week of April, and I do believe I think it's the second week of April, third week of April, and it's really not that late yet. It seemed like we never had as many issues getting alfalfa or getting our seeding to stick back when we were milking cows. And there's been a lot of discussion as to why that is. Anything from seeding rates to that harrow we're using to seeding conditions. So it's a moving target. It's probably something different every year, to be quite honest with you. But I'm getting to the point where I just want to see the seedings actually stay so we can not have to worry about coming back around and having to seed quite so much next year. Seeing this strip right here that I'm in right now, this was seeded last year and the seeding just floundered. I mean, there's some there. It was alfalfa, 100% alfalfa, and while it is coming up to a very small degree, it's spotty, it's patchy, it just isn't coming in as strong as we'd like to see it. So we're gonna go ahead and, especially with this coon drill, and seed it down pretty heavily with it's actually a pasture mix according to the bag, but it's grass, straight grass. We're not gonna do any alfalfa, largely because grass is gonna help produce a little bit more tonnage. It's only going to beef cows, and it gives them some energy, albeit not as much as alfalfa would, but at least for dad's seeding, it is mainly going to be grass. Ryan, I do believe he's putting a little bit of alfalfa mix in with his, but you'll actually have to go and tune into his videos to see what's all going on. So we're behind. Let's just go ahead and say that. It feels like we're behind. The ground has been actually froze. We got down into the teens here a little while ago, and I would have been chiseling 3 days ago, but it was wet, and with the wind, the like 30-mile-an-hour winds and the cold temperature, it actually froze the ground. And I just don't, it doesn't make me feel great going out and chiseling when you're busting through a frozen layer, granted however big it was, and then just stirring up the mud underneath. I don't want to go out and just do tillage for the sake of tillage. It costs money, it's wear and tear, it's fuel, and time is money. There's other things that you could be focusing on than going out and wasting your time mixing mud. So at least I think last year just has everybody on edge. I really do. In my grandpa's experience and history of farming, even my parents growing up and farming with my grandpa, even they said, I don't think grandpa had ever experienced a year just like last year. He has had years where his crops have been snowed in, and he actually had to go out and harvest between the snow banks because corn acts like a snow fence when snow gets blowing and all that, and it settles between the rows, and he needed feed, so he just went out and he had to harvest where he could. And that sounds absolutely terrible to me. So the goal is get the crops in as soon as possible, which is the same plan for every year, but get the crops in, get them growing, and hopefully we have a summer this year. When I say that, I mean hopefully we actually have some heat, get these crops actually growing and get them up out of the ground and matured in a timely manner, because last year, even the early stuff, everybody had that issue. I mean, was not just us. Everybody had the issue of corn stayed wet. It did not dry down in the field. A lot of quality issues with corn coming out of the field last year. The elevator has said exactly that also, that it just made an issue for everybody. Even if your corn wasn't wet last fall and you were hauling it out of the field, which is what I was doing, and sending it right down to the elevator, they were so backed up with wet corn that was coming in that they were shutting down early, and their bins were full just because they were that far behind. They couldn't keep the dryer running long enough, fast enough to get all that wet corn coming in mid-November and get it dried out. Because on top of that, when you're drying corn, say early October, late September, when you still have Mother Nature helping you out, you're still getting some 50, 60 degree days, and you're trying to dry that corn down, it doesn't cost quite so much. You're not burning through as much fuel to do it. But then the problem they were having is mid-November, 20 degrees, teens actually in some days, when you got to heat up that air temperature that much more, they're burning through that much more fuel, and that's also why we got into that fuel shortage last fall, because it was just taking that much just to get that crop last year dried down. And I don't even want to get started on soybeans. All I'll say is we cut down our number of soybean acres last year. We're up significantly this year, and we planted hybrids that should dry out better this fall. I'm not saying they will. In my experience, they probably won't. But that is the definition of a farmer. One of the many definitions of a farmer is, if it wasn't for optimism, we wouldn't be farming. Because it seems like farmers are the ever optimists. So I'm optimistic that this seed we're putting in the ground, this grass seed, is actually going to come up and produce a nice crop. Our waterways aren't going to wash out this year. Our corn is going to yield awesome. Our soybeans is going to yield really well and surprise us there and be nice and dry every day we go out to harvest it. The cattle markets will go up. My calves will bring an awesome price when I go to sell them later on. The ever optimist. You try to protect yourself as much as you possibly can, when you can, if you can, as far as insurance and all that. But I sold, for futures for this year, I sold between 410 and 420 last year, because I wanted to sell, and get this, because I wanted to sell part of my production for this year, which I wasn't sure how many acres I was going to have, but at least I was locking in some profit at 410 and 420, because that'll be hopefully my lowest corn that I have to sell, and I'll be sitting really good. Man, now it's looking like 410 and 420 December futures could have been my best sales. So there's so much that goes into being a farmer and doing this, that you got to be a little bit of a professional in everything. And the marketing side is the area that I've been focusing more on here in the last 2 or 3 years, and I really think it has helped. I don't think it has helped. It has helped, but between mechanics and agronomy and marketing and just pure dumb luck, there's a lot that plays into this, and I know there's no proper way to really get it across about how stressful it is doing this and trying to make a living at it and being profitable and making sure you're feeding yourself and your family. And it's stressful, daily stressful. The few days of the year where you're not worried about how everything is working together and not sinking the ship, I mean, you need to be thankful for them and enjoy them. Blue sky and sunny would be great. It is currently blue sky out with a little bit of cloud cover, but the problem is it's cold. It's in the 30s. The ice in the low-lying areas is still there. I'm a little bit leery about planting into cold, wet soils. That's why we're going through and working this soil up right now. It is a little tacky. I'm not proud about that. But it wasn't drying out, just leaving it as it was. So we get this dried out again. We'll see how it pans out. The harrow is ready to go. It had the tires were low on it. I pumped them up and it's holding air. That's what happens when it sits for a year. I mean, we only use it for 3 or 4 days, maybe a week out of the year, because you can really cover acres with that harrow. But what we're currently thinking, it's kind of up in the air with that Kuhn. It's a no-till drill, but I'm kind of thinking work this up, let it dry out, get somebody out here, probably with the 40-20 and the harrow, work it once, break up some of these clods that I'm bringing up because it's wet, like I said, and then come in and drill it, and then that'll be it. With our Van Brun drill, we always worked it like this, seeded it, and then hit it with the harrow. Even this year, we were planning on just doing exactly what we were going to do with this Kuhn drill, is go through, we'll hit it with the VT, then we'd harrow it, smooth it out, break up any clumps, and then seed it. And even Ryan did make the comment, which he was joking, but not really, about hooking up our drill along with this other drill and then just knock out all of our seeding in a day or two. Because even with this drill, it's got a wicked huge seed hopper on it. I mean, you could probably stack 4 or 5 people in there and shut the lid and they'd be comfortable. Well, not really, but you'd be comfortable at least shutting the lid. And which is really cool, because with that little drill of my dad's, 2 or 3 acres and we're filling it back up. So this thing, not so much. So, well, 20 minutes I think is a pretty wicked long video, awesome long video. And I'm not really supposed to be running this anyway. Actually, Dad was going to come out and take over. I was supposed to see what was left at the farm to work on. And honestly, the way I'm feeling right now, I'm kind of leaning towards to take the F-It pill and jump in that 46 and that chisel plow and head out and chisel plow later today into the night and just try to knock out some acres, because I'm to the point now where I'd rather see that 46 on the corn planter than sitting on that chisel plow. Why don't we put the 46 or the 82 on the chisel plow? I could, but right now the 82 is needed on the VT, and most times it's needed on the VT. And pulling that 9-shank chisel plow, you drop that chisel plow all the way down, it will lug this tractor. But at the same time, an 11-shank would suit this machine so much better. If I upgrade to one, I mean, it'll probably end up on this. So, well, I think that's enough of the rest of the story for today's video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you guys later.